What's up guys, welcome to the Thomas Theorist, and today I'm making a video about the history of Thomas the Tank Engine as a franchise. So let's get into it, let's not waste any further time. First start in June 15th, 1911, when Wilbert Ver Awdry was born in Empfield, England. He is the founder of Thomas and is a very important man for this story. As Awdry created the books while his son was sick in bed at home with measles, while he wrote books about Edward and Gordon, two engines, which would later be featured in the Railway series. Christopher loved these books so much that Awdry tried to make models. Awdry made an Edward, but his son requested a Gordon. But he couldn't make a Gordon for his son because it was war times and they were low on materials. So he eventually ended up making an 060T tank engine, and he named him Thomas the Tank Engine. And his son requested stories about him. So Wilbert Awdry delivered and wrote a couple of stories about this little cheeky tank engine. And a few years after these stories were written, they were published in a series called the Railway series. It's a very influential story and it is very, very important to this story. As the Railway series originally was 26 books written by Wilbert Awdry, which you can still read today through the 2015 re-release version on Amazon. And basically, in the 1950s, they wanted to make a TV adaptation of one of the stories, Henry the Green Engine, which it was the story about Henry getting stuck in a tunnel. But it failed tremendously, and the Thomas series was derailed derailed literally, as one of the engines as Henry's model fell off the track and a hand had to be reached down and bring him back onto the track. As it was a disappointment and it was in the BBC News after that. Awdry had then given up on TV adaptations, but it soon out that he was not done. In I think around the 60s or something, they were trying to make an animated version, but there's only a few pictures of that, and it was never actually made. But in the 1980s, something changed, as a lady known as Britt Allcroft came to Awdry with an idea, make a model series of Thomas the Tank Engine to be aired on TV. As it was eventually greenlit, and the show's first episode aired in 1984, as it was a very essential turning point for Awdry and his little tank engine named Thomas. As it started out as just adaptations of original Railway series books for the first few seasons, as that was what most of the episodes comprised as it was it was starting to gain traction among people, as people started to like it. But sadly, after a few seasons of the show, Wilbur Awdry died on the 21st of March 1977 in Roughborough, England, at the age of 85. But his son Christopher continued his legacy, as Christopher was born in 1940 and is still alive to this day, age 83, and he wrote Railway series books 27 through 42 from 1983 to 2011. As he wrote many books, he also wrote Sodor, Reading Between the Lines, where a lot of stuff that people look for when they're going for Thomas stuff comes from. It's a very quintessential book, and it helps a lot of people write stories like this. Also, Awdry had a wife named Margaret Whale, who died in 1989, right before Awdry. Well, basically, also, it's a little loud, I'm sorry, but basically, after that, after a few seasons, they made a movie. In 1999, they were starting to create a movie called Thomas and the Magic Railroad. It was a mix between real life and models, and it was and it was released in 2000. Sadly, though, it was a huge flop, and Britt Allcroft later on got kicked off the production team and was eventually fired. But later on, after a few more seasons, it was sold to Hit Entertainment, which turned the series around after series 7. After season 7, they made a few more seasons as the normal models. But in 2009, that all changed. But also in 2005, they made another movie, but that's not really important to the total timeline here. Also, but in 2009, they released the first CGI adaptation of Thomas, Hero of the Rails, originally intended to be a CGI hybrid like Series 12, but was later changed to be fully animated. As Season 12 was produced, it was a very, it was a, as after that movie was a success, they made Season 13 and 14 based on the same way. People like to hate on this part of Thomas, the early CGI, but I honestly quite like it. But let's get back to the story. Basically, after that, a lot of stuff happened during that time, and every year after Hero of the Rails, a new Thomas movie was produced, and they were all doing really well. My favorite is honestly Blue Mountain Mystery, but I'll get to that later. But I won't actually get to that later. But okay. Basically, after that, in around season 16, it kind of changed over. Also, it aired on multiple networks. It used to air on Cartoon Network, but it aired on PBS Kids for most of its lineage. So basically, in 2017, I think, or sometime between that, I can't really remember. I'm doing too well. I'm not really reading anything about this, honestly. Going off memory here. The rights expired for PBS's Thomas rights right before Bubba was released. Big World Big Adventures. So it started airing on Nickelodeon in the morning and at night. As I personally love to sit by the TV every night and watch the newest episode. That was something I always like to do, even though it wasn't the greatest, but it was, it was okay. It's pretty good, honestly. But after 2020, the show was sadly canceled, and it was right on the 75th anniversary of the Railway series, which Christopher Audrey also had a son. So currently his son keeps up the Audrey's study in Telly in Wales, where every year they have the annual Audrey Extravaganza, which they've been having for 3 years now. But in 2021, on Cartoonito in the US and Canada, they aired the reboot of Thomas called All Engines Go. All Engines Go is still running to this day and has 2 seasons and 3 specials. And there's one more season. I think there's 2 more seasons and one more special to come. As a lot of people, including myself, hate the series and kind of wish they'd bring back the original. But that's pretty much it for the lineage of Thomas the Tank Engine. I know it's a weird video and I don't really make videos like this, but if you guys like this sort of video where I'm not really showing anything in the background, I'm actually editing a video, let me know. And thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.